The film opens with the main protagonist, Oh Dae-soo, grasping a man by his tie on the edge of a building. With the man's life in his hands, Dae-soo says that he wants to tell a story. When the scared man asks his name, the movie transitions 15 years back. Dae-soo is completely drunk and out of his mind. He is in the police station for misbehaving and hitting on someone else's girlfriend. He tries to pee in the waiting area, and the officials restrain him. Nonetheless, he continues to cause problems. Dae-soo asserts that he was on his way to his daughter's 4th birthday. He even shows them a cute bag with wings he bought for his daughter. The officials somewhat believe in his story, but still decide to lock him behind bars. Fortunately, Dae-soo's friend, Ju-hwan, arrives at the scene and convinces the officials to release him. The two then go to a phone booth. After Dae-soo finishes talking to his daughter, Ju-hwan joins the call. However, when the latter turns back after ending the call, Dae-soo is nowhere to be seen. In the next scene, we learn that Dae-soo has been kidnapped. He is sealed in a hotel room where his food is delivered through a trap door. Most of the time, he is given dumplings, which have a peculiar taste. Dae-soo tries his best to learn about his captor, his intentions, where he is, or how long he'll be held. But unfortunately, he finds no answers. When his hair grows long, he is knocked unconscious and trimmed. His captors take his blood sample and extract his fingerprints too. One day, Dae-soo learns from the television that his wife was murdered, and he is the prime suspect since the police found his fingerprints and blood at the crime scene. He then realizes that his captors have framed him as a murderer in the outside world. Later, Dae-soo is seen hallucinating and hurting himself. He is slowly starting to go insane, as he hasn't interacted with anyone for months. To keep himself occupied, he often writes a journal about the cruelty shown to him by his kidnapper. As the years pass, Dae-soo watches events on his television, such as the attack on the World Trade Center, changes in the presidency, and so on. When not watching TV, he spends a good portion of his time shadowboxing, promising not to spare the person behind his misery. After 14 long years, he finally manages to remove a brick from the wall and decides to get out in a month. However, before he can proceed with the plan, a mysterious lady comes to his room and hypnotizes him. When Dae-soo wakes up, he finds himself inside a weird suitcase on the rooftop of a skyscraper. A person is on the edge of the building, about to commit the unthinkable. Dae-soo is intrigued as it has been years since he has seen another human. Nonetheless, he hurriedly stops the man and tells him the story of his captivity. This is the same scene from the beginning of the movie. After hearing how Dae-soo's ended up there, the guy starts narrating his own story, but our cocky hero leaves uninterested. Dae-soo takes the lift where he steals a woman's sunglasses. He then decides to test his fighting skills. He teases some thugs, deliberately gets into a fight with them, and beats them up easily. With this, Dae-soo concludes that his years of self-training have worked. After a while, a stranger approaches him and gives him a wallet and a phone. He tells Dae-soo in advance that he doesn't know anything, so asking any questions might be futile. Dae-soo believes him and goes to a sushi restaurant where he meets a young chef, Mi-do. As the two are chatting, he abruptly receives a phone call from his captor. The man gives him a clue as to why he was held captive. He says that Dae-soo might get his answers if he revisits memories from when he was in school. Later, Dae-soo faints after consuming a live octopus. Mi-do helps him up and takes him home. While he is asleep, she reads his journals and gets to know everything about him. Sometime later, Dae-soo regains consciousness and looks around the house. When he learns that Mi-do is in the washroom, he immediately rushes there and tries to force himself on her, but she manages to defend herself. Mi-do admits that she likes him, but is not ready to be intimate yet. She then patches him up and helps him track his lost family. Eventually, they manage to find his daughter's address. It turns out that after his wife's death, his daughter was adopted by wealthy doctors. Knowing that she is safe and has a good life, Dae-soo gives up on trying to contact her. He also promises to visit his wife's grave only after killing his captor. However, it is not going to be an easy task at all. Dae-soo's only clue to solve the mystery is the dumplings he had for several years in captivity. So, he and Mi-do visit every restaurant in the city to taste their dumplings. Later, he finds Mi-do chatting with someone. When Dae-soo confronts the man, he reveals that he knows about Dae-soo's captivity and even mocks him for it. Hearing this, Dae-soo now believes that Mi-do had been working with the stranger and suspects her of being his captor. In a fit of rage, he leaves the house, telling Mi-do that he can't trust her. After this, Dae-soo continues his visits to the restaurants and finally finds the one where the dumplings were from. Eager to catch the culprit, he follows a delivery man on foot. Dae-soo then finally reaches the prison where he was kept. He investigates and finds out that the place is a private prison where people pay to keep someone captive. After a while, Dae-soo locates the prison warden, Park, in the building and tortures him for answers. The latter claims that he doesn't know anything, saying he never met the client in person. However, when Dae-soo brutally pulls pulls out some of his teeth. Park reveals that he has the recordings of the phone calls with the client. After getting his answers, Dae-soo hands Park over to the prison guards, warning them that he has already lost a lot of blood. He then fights off the guards and defeats them, even after being stabbed multiple times. While returning home, Dae-soo collapses on the road because of his injuries. A man who had been following him all along approaches his unconscious body and takes him to Mi-do. Shortly after, Dae-soo wakes up to see himself wrapped in bandages and Mi-do sleeping near him. Then he goes through the audio recordings he received from Park, but they reveal nothing more than someone asking to hold Dae-soo captive for talking too much. Next, he locates his school friend Ju-hwan and makes him listen to the audio. But as expected, the latter doesn't recognize the voice. This devastates Dae-soo, as he is now back at square one. However, he is still not ready to give up. After brainstorming some ideas, he starts looking for the man Mi-do was talking to earlier, who knew about his captivity. They learn that his name is Evergreen and track his hideout easily. Evergreen turns out to be a rich man who challenges Dae-soo to find out his captor and the reason for his captivity within 5 days. He claims that if Dae-soo wins, he will happily kill himself, but if he fails, Mi-do will be killed. He also vows to kill every woman Dae-soo will love throughout his life in case he loses the challenge. Dae-soo attempts to torture the answer out of Evergreen instead of accepting his stupid challenge. However, the tables turn when Evergreen threatens to commit the unthinkable by switching off the pacemaker of his heart. If Evergreen dies, Dae-soo will never find the answers. So, he reluctantly accepts the challenge. After the encounter, Dae-soo goes to Mi-do's house and sees her being tortured by Park and his men. Park is there to take revenge on Dae-soo for pulling out his teeth. He holds Dae-soo to the ground and is about to pull out his teeth, but right then, Evergreen's right hand arrives. He has brought a suitcase full of cash, which he presents to Park. The latter is very much pleased by the present, so he orders his men to leave the place. As they are walking away, Dae-soo angrily threatens to cut off Park's hand as revenge. In the next scene, we see the couple traveling in a jeep. Mi-do claims that she's afraid of getting killed at the hands of Evergreen, but Dae-soo reassures her that she'll be okay. At this moment, we get to know that their entire conversation is being heard by Evergreen via a tracing bug planted in Dae-soo's body. This way, he gets their real-time location and can listen to everything they say. That night, Dae-soo and Mi-do are shown being intimate with each other. As they lie in the bed, Dae-soo sarcastically says that he feels thankful for his time in prison because he wouldn't have met Mi-do otherwise. Later, Evergreen puts both of them to sleep by releasing a mysterious gas inside the room they're in. He then comes into the room and leaves a gift box on the table. When Dae-soo wakes up and checks the box, he shockingly finds Park's hand inside of it. The fact that Evergreen knew he wanted to cut off Park's hand, and also their current location, makes Dae-soo realize that he has been bugged. He frantically checks his entire body and finds one in his shoe, which he removes with the help of the technician. Following this, the couple goes to an internet cafe to find out more about Evergreen. Shockingly, they learn that Dae-soo and Evergreen went to the same school before Dae-soo got transferred. They also find his real name to be Woo Jin. Dae-soo then calls his friend Ju-hwan, who went to the same school as well. The latter reveals that Woo Jin's sister, Yoon Jin-seo, committed the unthinkable shortly after Dae-soo's transfer. He claims that she was I'm not gonna say it, who slept with every boy at school. Woo Jin, who is listening to their conversation from the other room, is furious to hear them talk about his late sister. In a fit of rage, he goes to the other room and beats Ju-hwan to death. Woo Jin then gets on a call with Dae-soo and blames him for his sister's death. After the call, Dae-soo is approached by Park, who wants to work against Woo Jin for cutting his hand off. Dae-soo accepts his offer and asks him to keep Mi-do safe until he returns. He then visits one of his old schoolmates in a beauty parlor. As they engage in conversation, the woman reveals that Jin-seo committed the unthinkable due to rumors about her relationship with her brother in high school. Dae-soo then visits his school and recalls what happened a day before his transfer. He had seen Woo Jin and his sister making out in one of the classrooms. They stopped the act after noticing him, but it was too late. Dae-soo told this to Ju-hwan, and the rumors about the brother and sister quickly spread throughout the school. Back in the present, a vengeful Dae-soo goes to Woo Jin's penthouse and defeats all of his goons. He then tells Woo Jin that he has won the bet, since he has found all the answers he was looking for. Dae-soo remembers Woo Jin sleeping with his own sister in high school and accuses him of erasing all his memories so he wouldn't remember the incident. However, Woo Jin denies erasing his memory, claiming that Dae-soo forgot because it wasn't his business. Cutting back to the past, we are shown that when Dae-soo left for transfer, news of the brother and sister's relationship spread like wildfire. The rumors were exaggerated so much that people began saying that Jin-seo was pregnant. Coincidentally, Accidentally, her period stopped and her belly got swollen. This led her to believe the rumors. She couldn't bear the thought of a baby growing inside of her that was also her nephew. Ultimately, this led to her demise. Ever since that day, Woo-jin blames Dae-soo for spreading the rumor that cost him his sister's life. In the present, Woo-jin shockingly reveals that Dae-soo and Mi-do fell in love because he had hypnotized both of them. It turns out that the two were hypnotized before they first met, and everything was designed in such a way that they were destined to fall in love. Woo-jin then points to a box and signals Dae-soo to open it. The box contains some old family pictures of Dae-soo. As he goes through them, he sees his daughter getting older by each picture. Then, in a shocking turn of events, it is revealed that his daughter is none other than Mi-do. As Dae-soo tries to process the information, Woo-jin reveals that Park has kept Mi-do hostage. He was always on Woo-jin's side, and the hand was just a trade-off for some cash. A few seconds later, Park phones Dae-soo and hands it over to Mi-do. She nervously mentions that Park has given her a purple box. Dae-soo knows that the box contains the family pictures, so he desperately warns her not to open it. He then begs Woo-jin to not let Mi-do know the truth, because she is not at fault. He admits his sins and even cuts his tongue out as remorse. Feeling pity, Woo-jin phones Park and orders him to keep the box closed. He then gets inside an elevator, remembering the last moments with his sister. We see that he tried to save his sister until the very end. Back to the present, he commits the unthinkable, having avenged Dae-soo. In the final scene, Dae-soo is with a hypnotist. He is being hypnotized to forget the truth about his daughter. The movie ends as Mi-do hugs him affectionately, and the father and daughter live on happily as a couple.